bye week is over and it's back to football on the plains. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Talking Auburn football, go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel once you hear the content that we're going to deliver today. And as always, it's great to be in Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Once again, for Vernon Speaks Sports and Auburn Football Sports Talk. You know, headed into the Arkansas game, obviously the bye week is over. It's actually kind of a long week, a lot of interesting developments, especially with the running back situation at Auburn, with Boobie Whitlow out for 4 to 6 weeks. I would presume, just realistically, you talk about an MCL injury, he's probably not going to be available, at least in 100% form for the rest of the year. I would actually be shocked if Boobie Whitlow returns this particular season, albeit, you know, if Auburn makes it to the SEC championship game, maybe he'll be able to play then, but still not sure. Maybe a sure shot for the bowl game, but we just have to wait and see. Auburn, obviously the number 11 team in the country now, got a chance to move up in the polls while they were at the house watching other teams. As a matter of fact, I got a chance to watch some football myself yesterday. Saw where Georgia surrendered the game against South Carolina, moving all the way down to the number 10 team in the country, losing that game in overtime. Alabama, of course, continuing their onslaught with a huge victory over Texas A&M, 47-28. And one of the most interesting games of the day for me was watching Florida versus LSU. Now, this was for a couple of reasons. One is because Auburn played Florida last week. Saw a lot of great things from Dan Mullen coaching-wise, especially his ability to make adjustments. Also, of course, intrigued by LSU because that's a team that Auburn will be taking on in a couple of weeks down in Baton Rouge. They call that place Death Valley. It's very hard to win down there. As a matter of fact, Auburn has not won in Death Valley since 1999. As a matter of fact, I was a first semester sophomore at Auburn, had transferred there from Alabama A&M. That was the last time that Auburn actually beat LSU in Baton Rouge. That was under Coach Tommy Tuberville. Matter of fact, there have been a couple of coaches since then. Tuberville, Chizik, and now Gus Malzahn. One thing that we kind of got into a debate in my last live streams where we're talking about the quarterback situation where Bo Nix is, kind of struggling statistically. But, of course, he is a true freshman and, highly inexperienced. And those mistakes are going to occur. However, I'm looking at down the stretch some things that Auburn can do to be a little bit more effective. One thing that I was really impressed with as I looked at, I was watching the game, Florida against LSU, and I was really intrigued by how Dan Mullen did a great job of incorporating both of his talented quarterbacks in the football game. Obviously, Kyle Trask is the more pro-style backup, drop back and throw the football type quarterback. He had an excellent game. But when they got a little closer to the red zone across the 50-yard line, every now and then you would see Emory Jones. Now, Emory Jones is a former 4-star recruit out of the state of Georgia in 2018. He was a part of the same, matter of fact, it was a lot of talented quarterbacks coming out of Georgia that year, which included Justin Fields. Now, one thing about Emory Jones is that although he is a very, very viable dual threat quarterback, he actually prefers to drop back and throw the ball, which really makes him effective in his package. If you saw when Emory Jones came in, he ran the ball a little bit. I think he had about 39 yards. He also threw the ball. Matter of fact, threw a very key early touchdown to LaMichael Pirine where the ball tipped the defender, and then LaMichael Pirine came out down with the ball. That goes back to show that the Florida Gators do a very good job of finding ways to win football games. Now, they threw an interception late in that particular game, which kind of started, LSU's separation. But I saw some good things out of Dan Mullen and what Florida was able to do, and some things that Auburn could potentially implement in their repertoire offensively. Number one, I really liked how they utilized the two quarterback system. It's not that Trask couldn't do it, but I think Dan Mullen saw, hey, I'm struggling with my running game. I do need a dual threat. I need a threat for the quarterback to either run or throw the ball. So let me put Emory Jones in here to help leverage, to help supplement my lack of production in the running game, especially in the red zone. I want to get as close to the end zone as I possibly can and give myself an opportunity to score. And that's exactly what he did. Matter of fact, it was a back and forth football game all the way up until late, especially with that interception. And like I said, that's when the separation started. Another thing I really like that Dan Mullen did is made in-game adjustments. There was one particular play that in the zone read, what you would see is Florida's defensive ends were crashing down hard. I mean, had no respect for Trask running the ball. None of that. Crashed straight down. But what that revealed was the guys up top. We think about, say, Kenny Dillingham. And I think Cody Burns is on the sideline. But Kenny Dillingham up top. If you're Florida, you got some guys up top, and they're looking down to see the mismatches, right? Found a mismatch. Found that the defensive ends were crashing down, leaving the tight end pretty much wide open in the very, very intermediate part of the football field. Wide open. Now, they continued to run the run pass option, but then that particular play was set up. Florida was down in their end of the field, the minus side of the field. Did the zone read, tight end wide open, first down. Very good play. And there's a very good recognition by the coaching staff. And that's kind of what we need from Gus Malzahn, Kenny Dillingham, that combination, going into this Arkansas game, to be able to make some in-game adjustments, to be able to see some trends in the particular defense and what they're running, because Auburn obviously has the talent to move the football offensively. It's just finding the right strategy. And, you know, we can't particularly blame the offensive line for everything, but they're usually the ones that take the burn end of the blame. Now, another thing I really like the idea of is moving forward, say, for future reference. I think LSU has done an excellent job of revamping their passing game. Brady out of the the New Orleans Saints has come over and really revamped this passing game to where they appeared virtually unstoppable. Florida was actually in great position to make a lot of plays, but these guys are actually really good in their passing game. So Auburn is definitely going to have to continue to utilize the zone against Arkansas, because I'm telling you, they're not going to be able to stop LSU under any circumstances if they try to go straight man with pressure. It's going to wind up looking like how the Texas A&M Alabama game looked. You blitz, we score, because our receivers are too fast, and your cornerbacks cannot match up one-on-one with our scheme or the talent of our wide receivers. So that's something that Auburn wants to look at, is to continue to implement the zone, to keep these mismatches from happening. Another thing Auburn is going to have to do, they're going to want to put a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow, but the only issue is with the deep intermediate range passes, it's going to force your secondary middle linebacker to help out. It's going to force them down the field, and it's going to force them off balance. So if you're not educated in how you plan on blitzing or how you plan on putting pressure on Burrow, he can hurt you with his legs as well. And that's something that, from a discipline standpoint, you use a game like Arkansas to shore those types of things up. I think Auburn has a great opportunity ahead. Some teams took some losses last night, especially Georgia, even though they're in the Eastern Division. Georgia taking that loss. LSU obviously continue to prevail over Florida, setting up a possible showdown with Alabama, assuming that, LSU doesn't get caught looking ahead this week against Mississippi State. So a lot of great games ahead, but Auburn definitely needs to go ahead and start shoring up and solidifying what their identity offensive-wise is going to be moving forward. All right, guys, I appreciate you once again. Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast, talking Auburn football. Once again, go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.